Hello, Planet Earth. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730. I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations. You've made your way to the Buffy-ngton post. So today I'll be taking a break from Buffy, and it's time to review The Leftovers, Season 2, Episode 8, International Assassin. And this episode, surprisingly, was not written by T.S. Eliot. Last week, I was kind of harping on the episode, saying that you can't just give us answers for the sake of giving answers if all of the answers are going to contradict the other. And I realize that that's kind of the point of The Leftovers, to piss you off and give you this feeling of uncertainty, just like all of the characters around you. But this episode, holy shit.
We were aiming for the moon, we were shooting at the stars, but the kids were just shooting at the buses and the cars. So don't drink the water, don't you breathe the air, and if it's gotten that point, then I have to declare that you can rise better than weapon. Rise better than weapon.
So normally I pretty much do a recap of the episode and just inject my thoughts where I feel. But this week I'm going to switch it up. I've just kind of broken everything down into categories, and I'm going to just talk about what really stuck out to me and what I took away from everything that we saw. So, the skinning. Here's the story. Okay, Virgil told Kevin to drink this poison potion to go on a crazy, walkabout, in-between worlds spirit journey to battle with his adversary, this Patty thing he's been dealing with. And of course, Michael was super weird. We saw him in the trailer, and, oops, he shot himself in the face, and then Michael came in and dragged Kevin off, and apparently what he did was he buried him in the ground, and he just kind of sat there and waited for Kevin to battle with his adversary, which I'm sure he wasn't sure was going to happen. I don't think he was expecting for Kevin to actually come back from the dead, but that's what happened. And a lot of people were kind of guessing that this is what would happen, that Michael would put him in the ground, and that the magic of Jarden would put Kevin all back together again. Whatever. So I guess those people were pretty right. But we've also got this whole hotel crazy mind spirit journey that Kevin goes on that you could say was all in his head, but if you're still watching this show and not believing in magic, I don't know what the heck. So of course, like we knew, Kevin did not stay dead. He's back, but of course, he'll be different. This David Burton, I'm pretty sure he is, says that he will be changed. And Kevin was changed really before he actually did the damn thing at the well, and before he came back. I think that Kevin had changed in this place that he was in. So let's talk about this place. So this, where Kevin is experiencing everything, is in this hotel. Now, being that it is a hotel and not any kind of permanent fixture, and due to the people that we see there, I'm not certain that this is the afterlife. It's almost like, since we see that it's a hotel, it's almost like Purgatory or Limbo, somewhere you stay for a while before going to one place or another. And so the reason I say this is because, of course, we had Virgil, and he killed himself, right? And he kind of knew what was going on. He knew that he shouldn't be here with Kevin, and that the two of them shouldn't be in the hotel, and that they had kind of sneaked in. And so, I don't know everything Catholic, but, something about purgatory and suicide, I'm sure that has some kind of religious something or other to do, but mainly because we see Gladys and Wayne in the hotel, and we don't really recognize any of the other people. We have someone who kind of is Neil for us, but we've never really met Neil. He could have been anybody. And we've got Patty, but we were there to find Patty. And also, the Patty that we think is Patty isn't Patty. But the people that we do have are Gladys and Wayne. And Gladys and Wayne were both of their bodies were kind of taken by the government. And so it's almost like the jury's still out on these characters. And Gladys kind of gave herself to this thing, and her death was kind of like a suicide. Whereas Holy Wayne, there are all these question marks around Holy Wayne and what it is that he truly is. And so the reason that I think the hotel might be like a purgatory or limbo is just because that's where we've put him. We haven't decided, or not all of us, or at least our characters, and a character like Kevin has not decided where to put Holy Wayne, which is why when he shows up on the toilet, it's one of those, oh, of course you're here, because the hotel is for people who really don't belong. And did anybody notice that, like, nurse, doctor, person who appeared to have, like, a cooler of organ, like, importance, they wouldn't let her in, and it was like, oh my gosh, this whole leftovers world is so crazy, and now we're in Kevin's head? But either way, whether you want to call it purgatory or hell or whatever, if you're going to kind of go with the magic side of things and not the it's all just in Kevin's head side of things, we get Kevin's dad who says, we're in the same room. And so that to me means that they are both kind of inhabiting a spiritual space together, which I thought was really thought provoking. And I liked the idea that Kevin's father was looking through fire somewhere in Australia, talking to Kevin on this other place. So let's talk about Patty. Now, when we first see Patty, she's this little girl, and we don't realize that she's this little girl. And I thought that the little girl was kind of like representing the world, this leftover world that we exist in, right, for the show. It's this young, vibrant thing, but then it's just dead. It's just dead. And we get Kevin trying to put life back into this seemingly dead thing, and he's kind of discouraged by who we find out is Neil. But it really talks about the world of the leftovers. Everything is kind of about this. We see it with the opening of this season. And we saw it all through last season, and we see it in the leftovers. It's what the leftovers is all about. This idea that there are people who have given up on the world, and there are these other people who are sure that there is some hope here. There's something good here, that it's worth fighting for. And we see that Kevin really is one of these people. But it's not the world, it's Patty. So, Patty. Kevin, he was told he was an international assassin and all this fun, and he is trying to get at Patty, but he finally, works his way, finds what his plan is, all this crazy, and makes it to not Patty. So we get to this not a Patty situation, right? This not Patty, this double Patty is what we are dealing with. This idea that Kevin has of Patty. This is what he perceives her to be, this malicious leader, this kind of heartless, soulless thing, this powerful person. That is what he has made Patty in his head. That is what she represents to him. She is this evil, powerful person who just wants to climb the ranks and destroy families. That's exactly how he views her. And so we strip all of that away. Kevin kills this image that he's made of Patty, and he goes about trying to discover the real Patty. And when we see that this little girl is really Patty, it makes so much sense, because Kevin let Patty be so much more and so much less at the same time than what she really is. We see her, and she's this broken little girl, this frail little person who has been kind of knocked around by Neil. And when she talks about having won Jeopardy at the end, she talks about Stuart, her opponent's silence, and how there was a real power in that. And when Neil had Patty, she had the sign around her neck that says, I need to keep my mouth shut. And so what we really see, and what Kevin really sees, is that Patty used the guilty remnant as a way kind of for herself to fight back against everyone, including herself, having held her back for all of this time. And she used that silence as a weapon, and she used that silence to make Kevin put her up on this pedestal, this kind of iconic, villainous thing that he had made her into, which is what she wanted. She wanted to kind of take her power back. But at the end of the day, she is just this little person, this frail person like we all are. And for Kevin to kind of come to terms with that, and for them both to kind of come to terms with that, was really lovely to see. And Patty is the one who reads us the thing about the orphan's well and how it was constructed by the indigenous peoples like eons ago. And apparently people have made pilgrimages to the well to, throw stuff in because it's supposed to be this conduit between our world and the spirit world. And so it kind of reminds me of in the visitor center, how everybody was dropping things down into that kind of well of space. That's what I immediately thought of. And so that was really neat. But when we have Patty, she's the one explaining the thing about the well, and that's where they have to get to. Remember, Patty said in episode 10, I guess we're going to be traveling companions. And she also said in episode 7 of this season, I am so desperate to do battle with you. And so what we have here is Patty, at the end, what Kevin is giving Patty is an out. He is giving her this peace, the only peace that's available to her. Patty is angry, but she's also defeated, and she's kind of self-defeating. And the kind of camaraderie that eventually comes between Kevin and Patty toward the end of this episode is really lovely to see. So let's talk about being an international assassin. One of the things that really worked for this episode was the music and how very melodramatic it was, and in a fun way, but in a way that it didn't come across as too campy. And that comes with the whole international assassin idea. We've got Kevin, and he's calling himself Kevin Harvey, which is a lame name, guy, but it's there to say Kevin is not good at not being himself. Neil, in the hallway, he tells him that this life of being an international assassin sounds great. You don't have any responsibilities, but that's not Kevin. He's not this international assassin. He has a family. He has these responsibilities. And if you noticed, the placard on the lockers said, know first who you are, then adorn yourself accordingly. And Kevin is not adorning himself accordingly. He's not this international assassin. And sure, there are all these kind of things your adversary will try to deceive you, but the real adversary is Virgil, I feel. Virgil is the one telling us that you're an international assassin and you've got to shoot not Patty through the head. And it's all of this fakery, all of this kind of too much. It's not real, and Kevin's not this international assassin. And when his father kind of says, no, that's not what you need to do. I sent you a card and it said to do all of this. It's about that. Like, adorn yourself accordingly, Kevin. And to the adorn yourself accordingly, this goes back to Kevin and his white shirts. I feel like this moment of solidarity between Kevin and Patty, he really relates to her. He's more of a guilty remnant than he is an international assassin. He has these things that he remembers. He has this whole thing where he says, we smoke to remember that the world ended, and we know that he's just kind of rattling it off for Patty, but there's some truth to that. Lori and Kevin talked in the last episode about how great it was to smoke and the kind of freedom it gives them. And so I think as far as the adorn yourself accordingly, Kevin should have just been wearing all white. That might be how he could get to Patty quicker, right? And when he gets Patty out of the hotel and they're going to the well and they come upon David Burton, right? Like, that's David Burton, right? he's told that if you go back, it'll change you. But that's what he really needs. He needs to become. He needs to become fully. The Campbellian hero's journey. The hero dies and is on the outside plane and returns changed and different. And that's what needs to happen to Kevin. But before he actually leaves, he, of course, is changed. He sees Patty for who it is that she is. He's not an international assassin any more than she is the budding presidential candidate. She's just this little girl, and he's just Kevin. They are these weak individuals, and that's fine, because through their weakness, they find strength. Patty made a weapon out of her silence. And Kevin, once he kind of is able to share this solidarity and empathy with Patty, they can share this moment, and he can realize what she is, and he can forgive her, and he can also forgive himself. And he can give her this thing, this mercy. He's going to help himself by helping Patty. Patty doesn't belong here any more than he does. She was already trying to drown. All right, so let's talk about the well and the water. The water was pretty obvious. Obviously, Kevin comes up out of the hotel bathtub, and it looks like a baptism, like the later end of a baptism. And Kevin is kind of reborn into this new place. And the first thing he sees when he looks out into the hotel room is kind of this like bowling pin style pool rack setup of water. And I was like, oh, what's up with all that bottled water? And of course, if you drink the water here, you get stuck here, which is very, mythology, Persephone, they did it on True Blood. It's like, it's one of these things. If you eat the food of the underworld, you get stuck there. So don't drink the water, don't breathe the air, just stay away. And throughout, we get these weird little things about the water and about this well and what this well is. And of course, Patty explains what the well is, and I was just thinking about the deeper well from Angel, right? But this whole season has had a lot to do with water, obviously. In the first episode, we have the girls in the water, and we have Michael selling the water, and of course the water all disappears, and now it's all about trying not to drink the water of this kind of crazy place. And one thing about drinking the water, it seems to... I don't know, it seemed really convenient that Virgil drank the water because there was no coming back from his wounds, right? Like, you don't get your brain unshot. So, naturally, he wasn't going to come out of there. And for him to just drink the water, and that's how he stayed there, it made the stakes higher for Kevin. So, I like the use of water here. So, science versus faith, here we go. Now, many people are going to argue that this is all just in Kevin's head, and I can totally see that. And there's a great argument to be made for that. You could totally see that Kevin's just kind of working his issues out, okay? And sure, this could just be Kevin's psyche working out his issues, just kind of getting his shit together. Or this could be Kevin going through this spiritual plane and getting his shit together. Either way, Kevin got his bag that says shit on it, and he got all his shit together. And I am going on the faith train. I've been on the magic train pretty much since season 1, right? I didn't like Holy Wayne. The episodes with Holy Wayne and Tom were my least favorite, with the exception of Guest. But I still wondered about whether or not Wayne was able to do this, and overall, I'm kind of on the there is something else going on here train. But the science train is just going to keep on trucking, and people are going to say, it's all in his head, yada, yada, yada. I know that some of you that have been down in the comment section, and thank you, by the way, you are like way into the magic train, and you're talking about some, wacky stuff. But after this episode, I don't know, I can't really count out any of your wacky Erica created an earthquake theories, because fuck, anything's possible. I don't know how Erica could create an earthquake, but then I don't know how you drink poison and just crawl out of the earth. But whatever. So I like this. I like that we have these two very different takes on what to make of this whole situation, and we're probably never going to get the answers. Which, to me, again, is better than getting answers that contradict each other. So I love having to think about what is and what isn't. So a few things that are really fun in this episode are obviously you've got the bird. Now the bird obviously has some Judeo-Christian themes because the dove and what it represents of hope and peace and this kind of covenant between God and people. So that's one way to look at it. But in Egyptology and in the ancient Egyptian religions, the bird is used to signify the human spirit, the soul, and the hope that comes with that. But really, it personifies or symbolizes the spirit. And so, with everybody looking at the bird, this wandering bird, it was really lovely. And I've been wanting to talk about the Egyptians and the way that they think about the bird in this whole kind of bird-tastic season, but it never really gave me as much chance as this moment. And so when we see the bird kind of flying through Purgatory or whatever, Virgil says something very poignant. Pre-water drinking, Virgil says, "Oh, I really hope they don't catch that bird." And then later on, after he's drunk the water, he smashes it. There's nothing, he doesn't see the value of the spirit, of the soul, of the bird. And I just thought that was really neat. And also, we had a courier with a delivery for Mary Jameson. What does this mean? If this really is like purgatory, what does this mean? Does this mean that Mary has come out and then gone back in? Or does Matt maybe have a connection as well? Or is Matt just crazy? Who knows? But I found the existence of Mary Jameson within the hotel to be quite intriguing, and I wish that we had seen her. I wish we had seen Mary in a coma in limbo. That way it would be like she's kind of split, like she isn't whole anywhere. Wouldn't that be neat? And Wayne talks about deja vu, and gotta love Lost. I mean, it's the best, right? But deja vu is kind of all about, or it's kind of what Lost is all about. It's about what's really important, which is kind of the whole idea of the leftovers. And I really enjoyed this episode, you guys. It was so in your head and on the spiritual plane, maybe. And it just made me think and made me ask questions. And the fun of it is it did feel very Godfather. With the music, it was just way too much. And like I said, it never really felt campy. It felt eerie. You're with Kevin, and immediately you're like, where am I? What's going on? And it adds this real kind of sense of terror to the situation that The Leftovers is really good at conveying in a very low-key way. It's kind of like this quiet terror. It's not overt. It's just, there's something wrong here. And I just love the show, you guys. Tell me what you thought of this episode in the comment section down below. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm Preston L. Young. You can tweet at me at @ThePWitty. You can check out my other playlists. I've got Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Angel and Faith reviews, Buffyverse discussions on the other Slayers. You can check up on my coverage for Buffy seasons 8 and 9. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for today. I hope you're having a great 2015 so far, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
We were aiming for the moon, we were shooting at the stars, but the kids were just shooting at the buses and the cars. So don't drink the water, don't you breathe the air, and if it's gotten that